We didn't burn the town down. It just burned the whole inside of the bar. It didn't light no building up or anything, but they just burned every bit of the furniture that was in the bar, and there was a lot of it.
Let's party up!
They did this movie after us guy. It's supposed to be, but they had to glorify the shit out of it. It was taken after, well, you've seen it on there, it's after the Venice Angels. It all started out, there was in 61, there was a Tecate. We had runs. We went to Big Bear, we went to Bass Lake, we went to different runs they had. And they declared that the HA was going to have a run in Mexico to a Tecate for a race that they had. They used to have them every year, but after we got there and got through with our bullshit, they didn't have no more anymore. They wouldn't let anybody even in Mexico they had a motorcycle. But we got there and raced hell in Tijuana for a while. And the funny thing was, a friend of mine, Eddie, we were standing on a corner there, and he kept going around the block, and he'd go by us. I went in this little store, and they had these things. They looked like raisins, but they little papered things, and they were like little torpedo type things. You throw them, and when they hit, they pop. Well, I get a handful of those, and when Eddie go by, I throw them at him, and they pop all over his motorcycle and him and stuff. All of a sudden, he did it about 3 times, and the next thing I know, where's Eddie? He ain't coming around. All of a sudden, boom! Man, I went, what the f*** was that? And Eddie went by, and he had these things about this big around. They were about the size of a cherry bomb. And Christ, man, I went, what do you got? And when he pulled up, he pulls out his bag of these great big things. I said, God damn, that thing hurt when it went off here, because they got little pieces of gravel in them to make them go off. We had to wait for a lot of other people to get there. It's like straight Satans and galloping gooses. Everybody gathered up and finally left Tijuana. And we're all doing a 2 abreast. And Eddie and Kenny decided to get ahead of everybody. Well, anyway, Pat decided, I'm going to go out there too. So he jumped out there and he clipped a guy going out, and when he clipped this guy, he kind of lost it, and he went over into the other lane and bounced off a car going the other way. And the next thing I know, he goes over the side of a cliff and pulled over, and I immediately run down there, and there he was. He had broke his leg, had a big hole in his head, and his bike was screwed up. Anyway, they took him to the hospital there, Tijuana. We had to go see where Pat's at and try to get him over on the San Diego side, because he was on parole and not supposed to be in Mexico. He wasn't even supposed to be in San Diego without his parole's permission. So anyway, he was in the hospital, and we went to the American consulate there, tried to get him across, and they wouldn't let us take him out. So we went and kidnapped him. Went in the hospital. He was up on the 3rd floor. I went, we got on the 2nd floor, and some broad man started hollering and screaming something, and I just grabbed her around the neck and went beside the head and knocked her cuckoo. He wasn't awake. He was out cold. I didn't even know his leg was broken. We grabbed him and walked him down the stairs because he didn't want to take the elevator, because that was a place we could get busted at, So we took him, and finally we got the president of the San Diego Angels. He had a ranchero, and we got him. We stuck him in the ranchero, and they took him back to Tecate. And I looked in the front seat. I was sitting in the back of the ranchero, and I looked, and there's Pat, and his bandage had come off, and he got a hole, big one in the back of his head. I went, ooh. And they had him in the middle between him and Skip, and between this other guy and Skip. I can't remember who the 3rd person was with us. I don't know if it was Shorty or who it was. I just never could remember. Because I was screwed up. I remember taking him down the stairs, and he was going, bending him around the corners, because each level we had to go down another staircase, and I didn't know he had a broken leg. Didn't find that out until we got on the other side of the border and went to the hospital there. But anyway, these 2 sailors had an old business coupe. I think it was a Dodge or Chrysler or something. And that's the one that has a no back seat, but it goes into the trunk. It's called a business coupe. It's for guys that, like traveling salesmen and stuff like that. Anyway, he dumped him in there, and they took him across the border and got him into the San Diego hospital. Well, anyway, we continued after they got him to the hospital. We went on to Tecate. We get in there, and everybody's partying in this one big bar. It had, wooden tables and wooden stools and wooden chairs, and everything was wooden. They had a piano. It was like an Aganto, It's like a place where they had parties, and then it was just a big bar. They had dances there and all that stuff. Anyway, we're in there partying, and all of a sudden, I walked out in the front, and people were starting to chain their bike to their leg and go to sleep out there in the front. And there was a kind of a lot next to this place, and they parked all along this lot, and they built a big fire. They could find stuff to burn. They had a fire out there. Anyway, bottles started coming out, like moiters, and they used like moiters. They had those all along, like those long neck bottles, like Corona bottles. Warriors. They started coming over this building and bouncing off of people and motorcycles and shit. We went around the back there, and there was about 12 Mexicans back there just having a ball and throwing bottles at us. So we went out there and kicked the shit out of them. Went inside the bar, and somebody turned out the lights, and people kept grabbing me, and I had a big wrench, man. Bong! I even hit one of our own guys. I mean, it was dark. Anybody grabbed me got hit. Anyway, after all that bullshit, I was getting tired. People raising hell and stuff. I climbed up on this upright piano. And when I woke up, it was in the morning. And I started to climb off the piano and just going boo, boo, boo. I looked down and there wasn't nothing left. I mean, all that was there was a harp, and the keys, and the rest of it skinned it. So I walk outside, and I noticed in the bar, man, there ain't a stool or a chair or a table, nothing there. I mean, the bar's empty. But they had taken every stick of furniture and part of the piano I was sleeping on and made a fire, made a big bonfire, and everybody they raised hell. I was asleep during all that. We didn't burn the town down, it just burned the whole inside of the bar. It didn't light no building up or anything, but they just burned every bit of the furniture that was in the bar, and there was a lot of it. There was probably 20 tables in there and probably 150 chairs or more. I started to walk across there. Plus, I was standing up on this big porch, in front of the bar. It was like an old cowboy bar, And I started to cross the street, and all of a sudden, here comes this fucking Jeep with a bunch of chrome helmets, chrome bayonets. General's got a general hat on. He's got a microphone with one of the portable ones. And he's telling everybody, get out of town by 9 o'clock or your bike will be impounded and you'll be incarcerated. And right behind it's a half track. There was a bulldozer in front of that pushing the fire down into a big hole or something. So everybody got out of town, and I walk across, I say, well, Eddie, what happened to you? He said, I don't know. I was doing a wheelie. The next thing I know, I wasn't doing a wheelie anymore. I woke up on a table. Anyway, I said, I got to get out of here. And so I looked around, and I see Skip's bikes tied to a guy named Pierre. I said, I'll take Skip's, and you can take Pierre's. I go to get on Pierre's, and the goddamn gas tank falls off. Bullshit, I ain't taking this bike. So we unchained him, and I took Skip's bike, and I rode back. Went across the border, and that was funny. I mean, when they seen me coming, he just went way beyond, and I popped the clutch, and I did a wheelie leaving the border. Some chick got a picture of it, but I never got the picture.